Let go. Yeah. Don't know. Oh yeah. It's the original Batman. One time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Ashley Empowers. I'm Ashley, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Dating with Purpose. Dating with Purpose is a series that we created to showcase and highlight couples who have positive and healthy relationships to inspire this generation. Today, I'm so excited to be interviewing Jessica and Hilary as they share their journey on how God brought them together. But before we hop into today's episode, I did want to invite you to join my husband and I's upcoming free challenge. We're doing a 5-day challenge called Doing Dating Right to really help you when it comes to the dating scene and meeting quality people and really understanding how to identify when you've met the one and so much more. It's going to be absolutely incredible, and you can register for free at doingdatingrightchallenge.com, or you can conveniently click the link in the description box below. Welcome, you guys.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. So if you guys can just start off by telling people who you are and how you met.
You want to go first?
No.
So I'm Jessica Chinyelu, and I'm a motherhood and lifestyle content creator and influencer, as well as a sponsorship consultant. And wow, so my husband and I, we met back in 2009 going into 2010, and it was back in my clubbing days because I used to be a club promoter. It was New Year's Eve, and he approached me. He was with, actually, I used to work at BB, and so there was this girl that used to shop with me at BB, and she walked in with a whole bunch of guys, and I was kind of looking at her like, girl, what are you doing here? This is a Nigerian party. And she goes, oh, well, my boyfriend, he's Nigerian. And so Hilary was one of the guys that was with her and her boyfriend and his entire crew. So he taps me on the shoulder from behind, and the first thing that he says to me is, oh, my wife. And I kind of laughed because I was like, who is this Nigerian man running game on me? And this short one at that, because my husband is a little bit shorter than I am. But well, that night you were, because I had on heels.
Yes.
Yeah. So when he said that, there's a couple of things that I really loved. He had just the most amazing smile, and I'm a sucker for smiles. We ended up dancing the night away, and we talked for like 6 months. And because I was a little distracted at the time, we ended up not really getting into a serious relationship. And then we reconnected a couple of years later when I was sharing my testimony at church, and it just so happened to be a New Year's Eve service. So that's really the beginning of how we met. And gosh, I mean, New Year's is significant for us. It's very, very significant for us. So
Yeah.
that's my side of the story of how we met.
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Hilary Adibowi. Obviously, you have to know, when you talk about relationship goals, and know strengths and weaknesses of one another. So that's why I asked her to start us, because I know she would tell the story, and I didn't. So she just told the story. I couldn't have said it any better myself. So. Yeah.
Yes. And so I was reading, I think it was on your wedding blog that you shared your story. And so first off, I was cracking up that Hilary's friends called you Hip Hip Hooray, or was it something like that?
It was Hip Hop Hooray.
Yes.
One of my friends that named her that, just because of the lifestyle she had at the time and the club promotion that she mentioned at the beginning of this. Yes, so it was just like, so that was just the nickname that he had given to her, was Hip Hop Parade.
So I remember.
You go back, what was that? Nothing by Nature was the one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what I thought was very interesting, just kind of reading through you guys' story, is that Jessica, you said you were a party promoter, a club promoter. You were heavily in that scene. And that's how I first met you in Dallas, was through something that you were hosting and planning. But by the time that you and Hilary reconnected New Year's Eve, at that point, you had been building your relationship with God. And from your writing, you were saying that you were pretty much a different person. You weren't living that life anymore. So how was it that second meeting? Was it more purposeful, or what was your mindset since you went from Club Jessica to a woman who's pursuing after God's own heart?
Oh yeah, I remember when I spotted him in the audience at church. And like I said, I was sharing my testimony. The first thing I thought in my mind was, oh my God, he's probably going to be thinking she's a liar, look at this club girl. But it was actually complete opposite. We spoke to one another after the church service, and the first thing he said to me was, wow, this is where you've been hiding. I actually thought that you moved out of Dallas. He was like, but you seem to have gotten your life together and you're doing good for yourself. So we actually just kept it, as a high and by kind of thing. We were glad one another were doing well. And his best friend attended the same church that I was attending. And so we just kept running into one another. And there was definitely a complete difference. Like, obviously I had changed, he also had changed, but when I first met Hilary, one of the things that I loved about him is everything that he said he was going to do when I first met him, he had achieved all of those things. So it was really good to see that he was truly a man of his word, and I was so impressed by that. So I think the third time of seeing you at church was when I approached him and was like, hey, I used the excuse of trying to get in contact with his uncle for law school, but I was really just trying to get his number. And I was like, we should hang out sometime. So
Yes.
I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember the whole part.
Yeah, because remember I hit you up and I was like, oh, I'm trying to go to law school and I want to talk to your uncle about law school because he's a lawyer.
Okay, and I read that in your blog that when you saw him at church, you, Jessica, asked him for his number. So I was like, what inspired that? So you didn't approach it as if, oh, it was romantic. You try to just ease your way in
Oh
there.
yeah, I did. Plus I remembered, so when Hilary and I first met and we would hang out all the time, like I would go to his place, but a couple of things, like we never slept together. We just kicked it all the time. I think we kicked it for about 6 months, but yeah, I mean, I feel like we were really good friends. I had a feeling that Hilary was my husband. And I remember going to my dad and telling my dad, I think I met my husband. And you also told your mom the same thing, because she told me that story this morning. He did. So
Wow.
I feel like we both had this feeling, but neither one of us acted on it too soon. And I'm actually very thankful that we did not, because when Hilary and I first met, I was not in a position to be in a serious relationship. And I tell people all the time, if we had gotten into a very serious relationship when we first met, I think I would have been the person that would have found a way to ruin that. So that's how I feel.
So, and by the way, just for the audience, in case they hear Ashley calling me Hilary and you calling me Hilary and Hilary, it is the same name. It's just pronounced with the accent, the Nigerian accent, Hilary. So that way everybody knows and not confused. But yeah, and I will obviously call myself Hilary.
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 And I will, from now on, I will say Hilary. So Hilary.
So that way the audience is not all confused. I know my wife goes back and forth, which is okay.
Yes, Hilary. So one thing that I also read was how during you guys' dating phase, it was mentioned that Jessica was like wanting to change you, but you were saying for her to accept you and accept your process and growth. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Right. Okay. So what that means is, obviously when you go into a relationship, right, everybody has an ideal image or picture or frame of who the ideal wife or husband should be, or person that they want to be. Obviously, once you begin to, if you're just dating just to date, really that doesn't really come into play. But once you know you're about to take it to the next step, that's becoming more upfront, right? And I think some of the mistakes that people make is to try and shape or mold who they want that person to be. Obviously, they're going to check some items off of your list, but no one is always going to check 100% off of anyone's list. I don't think so. And if you have somebody that checks off 100%, then consider yourself lucky. But what I meant by that is, as you grow in relationship, the things that you're eventually going to, kind of the way she eased her way in, you're going to ease your way into, because you know at the end of the day you want to be with that person. That is first and foremost. So if there's a habit that you have or something, like she still has habits that I just accept. I mean, I haven't mentioned everybody's okay, and then same with me too, right? Like for example, um, take for example one thing that I do that I know it's not that it was kind of in the way, but not quite there. It's like I enjoy playing video games, in my spare time. But there's only so much of that spare time. So that spare time outside of work, that spare time now cuts into our personal time, right?
Mm.
So over the years, I've gradually reduced the amount, and it's just because it's something that as little and naive as it might be, it's something that one of you enjoys. It's just like the way she enjoys, being she enjoys socializing. That's just my wife. I may not enjoy that as much as she does, but it's something that I've accepted and I know I'm going to be a part of. So
Yeah.
that's what that meant. Is just allow yourself to eventually grow, and eventually somebody will realize, okay, like right now we have a fun, and it's going to be keep doing that and then annoying and creating tension in your marriage, or just let it go. And eventually no one has to tell you if you want it to work for you to make the right adjustments.
Yeah.
Because like I said, wherever you're going to be with you, they've already checked most of the boxes. The other things are just little nuances that needs to be ironed out. And eventually they'll figure it out on their own.
And I think also too, to add to that, when Hilary and I reconnected, I was once the little party club girl, and then I all of a sudden just became this Jesus girl. And the gentleman that I dated previously to Hilary, he was pretty much a pastor. And so I think, although he was a really good guide, I think that I was trying to force Hilary to be something that he's not. And that was something that was in the beginning stages of us, reuniting. That was a challenge because he was just like, look, this is who I am. And I loved who he was, but I was trying to force him to be this extra, and that just wasn't going to happen. And so we made the decision to go through premarital counseling before we got engaged. And that was like something, I'm so grateful that we did that because it helped us a lot get past that one hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because a lot of people, they are looking for the perfect person and, that fits exactly what they imagine, especially kind of transitioning into someone who's building their relationship with God. They feel like somebody has to be like on their level spiritually and doing all of these things. So allowing someone to grow in to who they're supposed to be is beautiful.
Yeah.
So Jessica, talking to you, just conversations that we've had in the past, I know that you mentioned that, I don't know if you guys currently still do it, but you had marriage mentors. How do you guys invest in your marriage? And before you answer that question, how long have you guys been married?
It'll be 4 years in December. Yep. December 3rd will make it 4 years. We've known each other for so almost 10 years. And so our marriage mentors, they're Margaret and Stan. We haven't spoken with them in a while, but usually I'm the person that is, we both feel like, and they're the ones that did our marriage counseling. And I just feel like if we ever go through any issues, those are the first go-to people. Like they're the only people that we really talk to about any challenges that we may be having because we trust them. Oh, did you want to say something?
No, I was going to say, and to all the people out there wondering if premarital counseling is right for them, I would just say just try it, or counseling in itself, just try it. It's always good to have somebody else mediate and talk. You'll be surprised at how much you get to open up in that case, in that environment, so to say. And I think for our premarital counseling, we did it in home. It was just like in their house, and it was more comfortable. It wasn't like we went to an office or something to do it. It's something that was done through, I'm trying to think of the church that we did.
Covenant.
True Covenant Church, and it was in home, in their house, and so it was more of a relaxed environment, and we ended up becoming friends with them.
Very good friends
afterwards. So
that's awesome.
That's always a good step.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it for people who are unsure, and I think counseling should be done in the dating phase, just because there are a lot of questions that you may be forgetting to ask in that dating phase. There's some red flags. Like, I remember when we were going through counseling, everyone in the class, they were all engaged. They had wedding dates. And we got to the section of the book that we were going over where it said, okay, pause, red flags. And I just thought to myself, how many people would actually cancel their wedding date or hold their wedding date, like when they've already made their big announcement that they're getting married? And most people wouldn't do that. Like, I have spoken with so many people who are now divorced who were like, I remember whenever I was walking down the aisle, I didn't have a good feeling about it. But for the sake of continuing with the show, I went ahead. And so that's why I'm a huge advocate for counseling or premarital counseling or pre-dating counseling before you actually get engaged, because you might discover that, you know what, this isn't the person for me. And thankfully that wasn't our case, but our counselors really did a good job of bringing up things from the past, getting us to talk about things that we normally would not discuss, like getting out of the surface level and taking it to the next level of, this is what this thing is going to be like when you two get married. And they did a phenomenal job of that. I was really grateful.
Yeah.
And I guess I had mentioned it was in home. That was part two, was when they paired us with couples, right? But there was actually an in-class, in-church type.
We did. It was in class, in home.
And thank you.
I guess that really resonated with me at the end of the day.
Yes. No, and I can see how that in-home experience would be so valuable. But thank you so much for sharing that, Jessica, because I think that is such a good point to like, just for people to know that it's a great idea to have that counseling beforehand in case you are faced with a decision and you're like, hold up, this is not, you don't have to face that shame and of canceling your plans. So Hilary. Say it one more time, Jessica.
Hilary.
Hilary.
Like hilarious.
Yes. Oh, Hilary. Okay, yes. Okay, that's an easier way for me to remember. Okay, so you mentioned that you guys have a son with his adorable self. I feel like he looks exactly like Jessica. But yes, that is your twin. But how are you guys keeping the spark in your marriage with a toddler? Because is he 3 yet, or he's 2?
He's 2.5. Yeah. Whew. He's still in the bed with us, and we are praying that once he transitions to his bedroom, that it's gonna be all good, and it will be an easy transition. But for right now, I feel like the little things that we've been doing, like, this is gonna be funny, y'all. Hey, we're all adults here, but we get booty in the closet. That's what helps us. Like, I mean, I'm just keeping it real, because when your toddler or your kid is still in the bed with you, you have to find ways to, like, obviously make it work. And at first, for me, like, obviously that wasn't my ideal place to get freaky or have sex, but lately, like, that's what we do, and that's what we make work for us. And then movie nights, we have, like, our specific shows that we watch together. I love the fact that recently we've started, like, actually going out and having dinners, because I love to eat out. I love food.
COVID-19 happened. That's
COVID-19. But even with COVID, I'm begging to travel, and he's just like, no, we're not going to travel. But I think our little date nights that we find at home, finding unique things to do for one another, our things in the closet, those things. And then, so I love our car drives. Like, when COVID first started, we would go for car rides and just drive around and just have great conversations. I'm real big on quality time, quality conversation. So I enjoyed that. Like, we went out this past weekend, and the whole drive, like, we listened to a little bit of music, but we talked the whole drive, and that was like a 45-minute drive. And I enjoy little things like that. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Anything else you can add to that?
No, I mean, that's when you say that's mostly it, finding time to recognize, because in modern day, everyone is busy. You have media, you have phones and social media that takes away without, knowing. So just having those moments that you set aside, you know, even if it's a drive that you use as a tool that's intentional, that, you know, you're going to take a drive and just have the conversation, like she said, you know, and if it's something you do 2 to 3 times a week, that you guys do it, just make sure you're intentional about it. And then one piece of advice too, at least I think that helped us, because obviously there's no relationship that's rosy and perfect. You're going to get into arguments. I think try not to let the sun set on any one of your arguments. I mean, we've not been 100% at it, but if I was to give us a percentage, I think it's close to 90% of whereby we've had arguments and the sun did not set on it. And if it did, the very next day, one of us was apologize and just trying to make sure we could move on from whatever conversation it was. So I think that helps a lot, as opposed to, you know, letting it fester.
I gotta tell her about the sweet thing that you did the other day. So I came home and he wrote on our mirror with my lipstick a sweet little note. So it's like, you know, it's just little things like that just, you know, make you go, oh, you know. I feel like it's the little things for us. It's the little things in how we keep our spark and our fire.
Yeah. And one thing that I love, Jessica, that you do, and if you guys aren't following Jessica on Instagram, definitely do that. She posts so much inspirational, great tips. But one thing that you do is you share your appreciation for him. And, you know, you being an entrepreneur yourself, having someone who supports you on that journey, it's so beautiful to see that.
Thank you.
But as we wrap up, let's wrap up with this. If you each can just say one thing, and you kind of already touched on it, but what is your favorite thing about marriage?
Ooh. I'll let you go first.
All right. So we just kind of, like 2020, for example, most people say 2020 has been hard, right? And it's been really rough with the pandemic that's going on. And when you look at marriage, there's the companionship of it, right? Having someone that you can talk to, you can argue with, you can laugh with. I mean, the funniest things that we do, but it's like, it's just having that companionship. I really can't describe it, but having Jessica has made it such that going through the whole pandemic has been a breeze, right? And it's more time that you appreciate. Yes, we're not able to go to work as we normally do. We work from home. We had the challenge of having a toddler in the house for the most part, but just being together as a team and working together and having that time, that additional time, even though, yes, most of the time I'm still locked up in an office and she's still doing her thing, but being that I could pop my head up and we could have lunch in the same house, you know, together was something that is just most appreciated. And if it wasn't with the right person, then we would have been at each other's throats more than enjoy each other.
Yeah. Jessica?
I mean, that's a quick summary.
For me, so I kind of look at marriage when it's with the right person, of like you guys handling business together. And so I love the fact that we have truly been able to build. I think marriage is all about building and growing. And we have really been able to build something solid and really do it wonderfully together. And I honestly would not want to do this business of marriage with anybody else. I enjoy it. He helps me. I think just having a great supporter and just having a great team. Like, I feel like that's the most exciting part about marriage. Like, and I think that really goes along with just having a wonderful companion. I really do think that when you are married, you truly are married to your best friend. Like, we talk about everything. Before I do something, I'm kind of like, okay, babe, what do you think about this? Like, if not for my husband, I don't know where I'd be in business, because he truly like gives me the best advice. Like, I have grown so much because of the advice that he has given me. So I love the fact that marriage is a wonderful, thriving business if you do it right and with the right person.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. And I mean, and one more thing that I will just say, because I know you guys have to go, is I remember, Jessica, I came to one of your birthday dinners, and I want to say it was when I don't even think you guys were engaged. It was
No,
it was at
it was at
Benihana.
Benihana's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing that I observed, because Jessica is very outgoing, she's a leader. She, you have so many excellent traits. And I remember seeing at your dinner how Hilary was like the one who was so talkative, and you were so reserved and laid back and feminine. And I was just like, wow, this is like a different side of Jessica. So I just want to just compliment you on your femininity, because I just remember, not that you weren't talking and engaging, it was your dinner, but it was just seeing a different side with you with him, and I just thought it was so beautiful. But thank you guys so much for sharing.
That was a rare moment, if I was. So that means I like y'all. I like both of our friends. That's what that meant.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you, because my husband, so he normally is the quiet and reserved one, and yes,
yeah, he was comfortable this day.
Wedding though, I think you won't know because it was your wedding, but at your wedding, actually,
girl,
I think I talked a lot too at the table.
At your wedding, we had to tell him to stop talking because he talked so much. Like, I remember, and he had it was Faith, I think it was Faith, Queen, and a couple of other people.
But she has the best memory.
Oh yeah, girl, we had, like, it got to the point where we had to, like, tell him, okay, shh. So, and everybody was so shocked to just see that side of him. But I mean, obviously, when he gets really comfortable, he actually talks more than I do. So
okay,
when he gets really, really comfortable, yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you guys again for sharing. And can you just kind of tell people where they can find you, and Jessica, all of the information that you share on business, sponsorships, motherhood, like, just let people know where they can learn more about you.
Yeah, all you have to do is just go on Instagram at Jessica Chinyelu, and if you click the link in my bio, it has everything from free resources on sponsorship proposal templates, purpose plan profit guide, YouTube videos. There's all kinds of stuff on there, but Instagram is always the best place to find me, and I do respond to DMs. I try to respond to everybody.
Awesome. And I will have that linked in the description box below. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you.